හායි යාළුවනි, ඉතින් කොහමද? ඔයාලා සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා මගේ YouTube නාලිකාවට. අද උඳුවප්පුන් පොහෝ දිනය. අද ශ්‍රී ලංකාරාමය පන්සලේ සිංගප්පූරුවේ තියෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාරාමයේ පන්සලේ උඳුවප්පුන් පොහෝ දිනේ අද නොයෙකුත් ආකාරයේ ආගමික වැඩසටහන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. ඔයාලා කවුරුත් දන්නවා අද පොහොය දිනේ වැදගත්කම. හුඟක්ම වැදගත් වන්නේ සංඝමිත්තා මහතෙරින් වහන්සේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට ජයශ්‍රී මහ බෝධීන් වහන්සේ වැඩම කරවීම. ඉතින් ඒ වගේම අද වර්ෂ අවසාන පොහොය දිනය. ඉතින් අපේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාරාමයේ පන්සලේ නොයෙකුත් වැඩසටහන් තියෙනවා. අද අපේ ධර්ම සාකච්ඡාව සඳහා වැඩම කරන්නට යෙදුනා ඉතාලියේ ඉපදිලා ධර්මයේ පිළිබඳව පැහැදිලා මහානදම් පුරන ගෞතමී මහතෙරින් වහන්සේ. ඉතින් එතුමියගේ ධර්ම සාකච්ඡාව පිළිබඳ වීඩියෝවක් මම ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නට කල්පනා කරා. ඒ වගේම මම මේක අවස්ථාවක් කරගන්නවා පහුගිය දිනවල යෙදුන ස්වභාවික විපතෙන් ගම් වතුර නායම් සුලිසුලන් නිසා පීඩාවටපත් වෙච්ච අපේම සහෝදර ජනතාවට ශෝකය ප්‍රකාශ කර සිටිනවා. ඒ වගේම සිංගප්පූරුවේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයන් හැටියට අපිත් මේ ලංකාරාමයේ පන්සලත් එක් වෙලා අපේ ව්‍යාපාරික මහතුන් මේ සේවය කරන අපේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයන් අපිට හැකි ආකාරයෙන් අපේ පීඩාවටපත් වෙච්ච ශ්‍රී ලාංකික අපේම ජනතාව අපි උදව් උපකාර කරනවා. ඒ සඳහා නොයෙකුත් ආකාරයේ බඩු බාහිර ආදී එකතු කිරීමේ දවස්වල සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒකත් මතක් කරමින් රැඳී ඉන්න මගේ මේ ධර්ම සාකච්ඡාවේ වීඩියෝ එකත් එක්කලා මේක දාන්න පුළුවන් නේ. අවසන් පොහොය දිනය. අද වැනි පොහොය දිනක සංඝමිත්තා මහරහතන් වහන්සේ විජයශ්‍රී ජයශ්‍රී මහ බෝධීන් වහන්සේගේ දක්ෂිණ ශාඛාව සමග ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට වැඩම කළසේක. කාන්තාවන් හට උඳුවම් පොහොය විශේෂ වන්නේ
Sanghamitta මහරහතන් විසින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ භික්ෂුණී ශාසනය ආරම්භ කිරීම හේතු වෙන්නේ. එමගින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ආර්ය කුල කාන්තාවන් විශාල පිරිසකට පැවිදි බවට පත්ව නිවන් මාර්ගය පූර්ණය කර ගැනීමට අවස්ථාව සැලසෙනවා. අද දින ශ්‍රී ලංකාරාම විහාරස්ථානයේ සංඝමිත්තා දිනය වෙනුවෙන් වැඩම කරන ලද්දේ ගෞතමී භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේය. ඉතාලියේ උපන් ගෞතමී භික්ෂුණීන් වහන්සේ දැනට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ සහ ඕස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ වැඩ වාසය කරනවා. 2022 වසරේ ඇමරිකාවේ පැවිදි භාවයට පත් වූ ඇය සිංහල, ඉංග්‍රීසි, චීන සහ ඉතාලි භාෂාවලින් ධර්ම දේශනා කිරීමට කුසලතාවය දක්වනවා.
Today in Undavapoyane, we celebrate. Sri Lanka is a strong Buddhist country with a strong Buddhist history, culture and tradition. But what is Sri Lanka right now, it is also thanks to the Venerable Sanghamitta Maharatani Mahatma. So let's talk about the meritorious deed that she has done by taking a sapling of the Bodhi tree to Sri Lanka. We know that 2,500 years ago, the very first walk for women's right from Kaviravastu to Vesani in order to request the establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sangha. And here this magical number again repeats. 500 women have requested that they wanted to become nuns. They wanted to escape from this samsara. But of course, as we know, nuns have to be ordained by other nuns. Mahinda Thenu couldn't just do it and ordain them as bhikkhunis. And this is when he reminded of his beloved daughter, of his beloved sister that was in India, Sanghamitta Devi. She was already a very learned nun, a Vinayadhara. She was already very expert in the Dhamma and especially the Vinaya. She was extremely educated in the Buddhist teachings, and she had become an arahant just short after becoming a nun. So such a great duty had been handed over her. This is when the Sri Lankan envoy came to India, was Maharinda, and asked to the King Ashoka, please, there are so many women in Sri Lanka that are dreaming and they are so much ambition in becoming nuns. Please let Sanghamitta Devi come to Sri Lanka and ordain the women. When King Ashoka had his heart, it was already so difficult to give his only his to the Buddha Sasana. We know how much, no matter how learned, how powerful someone is, they have always a strong attachment towards their kids. It's a difficult thing to just detach from them and let them go to their way. And not to mention that King Ashoka was already a very learned person about Dhamma, and he didn't have any discrimination towards daughters, which was a very common thing during those times. Sometimes daughters were given a bad karma and a lucky year. But after Buddha told us, both women and men both sons and daughters are capable of reaching Nibbana or following the Buddhist teachings. So he understood and he never underestimated how much his own daughter precious was. Then there was Sanghamitta Devi who didn't forget her aspiration and said, Father, we are working and learning hard for the Dharma. We are not real benefactors of the Dharma if we don't dedicate our whole life to it. So please, Father, let me go. And then, with pain in his heart, he gave the permission, and Sanghamitta Devi, along with other 11 Arahant nuns and builders, crafters, and many other skilled people, started from the coast of Bengal to the coast of Java. It was a long journey. It was 7 days. It was not as easy as now, just traveling from the place to the other, just by hour flights or with good roads. It was not an easy journey. It was something that was even more incredible for women, because women usually never left the house without a male companion. So imagine at those times what incredible thing it was to see 11 women with men and other people who were not part of the family going towards a long journey for religion, for faith. That was an incredible thing. She brought what is probably the most important passenger of that cruise, a sapling of the Bodhi tree. It was a small sapling from the southern branch of the Bodhi tree, exactly where the Buddha has reached enlightenment. Nowadays, the Agra Sri Mahabodhi is the oldest tree present in the world. As we know, the original Mahabodhi was destroyed by war and burst weather several times. Therefore, this is the Sri Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura is the original and oldest origin of the tree where the Buddha has reached enlightenment. Therefore, imagine how powerful and how meritorious this deed was. They arrived to the port of what we know today as Jaffna. There was the king, Devanapatissa, so happy that he welcomed the group going under the water up to his head to worship the boat that the cruise that had just arrived to Sri Lanka. He was so happy and waited so impatiently for that brand to come, and as well for those women to give a chance to meritorious women to become nuns. Now, though it was a big feast when this sapling arrived, there was the roads were beautifully decorated. People, endless devotees were there waiting for the group to arrive, and they even worshipped the tree for 7 days before bringing it to Maham Mega Garden, which is the one that is now planted the sapling in. Now, the first part of the journey was accomplished, but Sanghamitta and the other women, the other nuns who came from far away, all along from India, didn't forget why and the duty why they came to Sri Lanka. It was to finally close the cycle of the fourfold Sangha. Now, we had laymen, but we didn't have nuns. And there were more and more women waiting their chance to become nuns and escape samsara. And it is when Sanghamitta, the other nun, eventually ordained Anula and the other 500 women in a massive ordination ceremony that was one of the greatest thing in the world, the most moving thing in the world. And this changed completely the destiny of the island. Now, women women were becoming an important part of this religious life or social life. It is something that it was unthinkable. We know that in the Dipavansa, which is the chronicles of Sri Lanka or Lankadipa, they had the women, the bhikkhunis, had a great part in it, and they wrote a big part of it, narrating how the island was born and the culture and everything that we know about the old Sri Lanka. This is how we know about it. It's because of the great contribute that these nuns have done to protect society, for us, for this humanity. Now women were not only a marginal part of society. Women became nuns, they started learning Pali, they started learning the Vinaya, the Sutta Pitaka, the Abhidhamma, and they started to spread it nowadays to the people in the local languages, in the local language. And this is how Sri Lanka has become such a great and bright island. This is because of the joint effort of the fourfold Sangha: monks, nuns, lay women, and laymen. Now, this amazing contribute that Sanghamitta has done for the women in Buddhism didn't just stop with the arrival of Sanghamitta to Sri Lanka. We know that the same generation of nun, around 600 years later, they are the main characters of the establishment of the Bhikkhuni Sangha in China. This is how everything is interconnected to each other. Because without Sanghamitta, without Mahabhajwali Gautami, there wouldn't be a Bhikkhuni Sangha. And without Sanghamitta coming to Sri Lanka with all of her compassion and starting the Bhikkhuni Sangha, we wouldn't see any other Sangha or any other Bhikkhuni Sangha in the Northeast Asia. We know that there was a Devi, a Mahadevi, Devasara Devi, who came from Sri Lanka to China around 400 after Christ era to ordain the nuns, because there was not yet a full ordained order in the country. This is now why we can see women becoming nuns in China, Korea, Japan, Vietnam, in Mahayana. It's because of the great effort that Devasara Devi has done. So this is how we see that every effort that we do is not dying just when we pass away. Every good thing that we do is going to last through generation, through years. Even though we think when we die, our body just disappears. That is the nature of life. This is the nature of our body. We all have to become ashes and become skeleton. 15 minutes, and as promised, there will be a short Dhamma reflection in Chinese, in Mandarin Chinese. So, should I start in Chinese? 那我们来讲一个比较轻松的话题吧。那么我们今天来讲的是比较。比较是什么呢？比较就是我们媳妇的贼我们在这个时代呢，我们老是跟别人比较比较人家的房子比我们大车。We have very less wisdom because we are just believing everything that we hear. What the Buddhist teachings teach us to have right understanding about things and have a critical thinking. So learn about what these venerable nuns have learned about, what the venerable monks have learned about. We have access to so many harmful informations, images now. And at those times, the monks and nuns, to learn something, had to go through huge thick books, and sometimes they didn't have even access to translators, and not just like today. And nowadays we are so lucky to have lots of tools, to have lots of ways to learn things. So let's use them in a proper way. Let's use them in a rightful way. Now, I want you to think about the military stint that Sanghamitta Theri has done, and this is why today we are here to celebrate her, the day when we celebrate and we commemorate her. This fact is not only related to Mahapajawati Gautami, not only to Sanghamitta Theri, not only to Devasana Theri. Every person, there is such a path in every person, in every man, in every woman, especially in every woman, because I see there are lots of women here listening. The example of Sanghamitta Theri is to encourage us and remember and remind us, especially when people want us to think that we are in fear. Come to Sampradevata, Sambha Buddhanupavena, Sada Sotti Bhavantute, Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakhantu Sabba Devata, Sabba Dhammanupavena, Sada Sotti Bhavantute, Bhavatu Sabba Mangalam Rakhantu Sabba Devata, Sabba Dhammanupavena, Sada Sotti Bhavantute, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.
ඉතින් යාළුවනේ මම විශ්වාස කරනවා ඔයාලා ඒ පොඩි කාල වේලාව වෙන් කරවා ගන්න නැති කියලා ධර්ම සාකච්ඡාව හා එහා සම්බන්ධව යෙදුණු අවස්ථාවන් වලට ඊට පොඩි වීඩියෝවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරේ. ඉතින් ඔයාලගෙන් සමුගන්නම්. ඔයාලා තවමත් මගේ channel එක subscribe කරලා නැත්නම් subscribe කරන්න, වීඩියෝ හොඳයි නම් like එකක් දාන්න, comment එකක් කරන්න, තව කෙනෙකුට බලන්න share කරන්න. ඉතින් එහෙනම් අද දවසේ අලුත් වීඩියෝ එකක් හම්බෙමු ගිහිල්ලා නම් ඔයාලා සියලු දෙනාට bye.